I'm going to start sending out the invites. Can you hear me? Sully, can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Cool. Beautiful. I'll start sending out the invites now.
Cool. Sounds good. We're gonna have a big space today, so just waiting for Mario to send the invites, and then we'll get started. We've got some major guests. We've got Syed Zulfikar Bukhari, who is the advisor to advisor to Imran Khan, who was the former Prime Minister of Pakistan on international media. We also have John Zabe, who is the Senior Vice President of PTI, coming on. And finally, we also have Amir Jangir, who is the focal person to PTI for Imran Khan in the UK and European affairs. So those are the special guests coming on today. And then we've got a number of other journalists also attending today.
It's been a long. How long has it been since we interviewed Mr. Khan?
I mean, yeah, I think it's been about 4 weeks. So when we interviewed him, I remember the week leading up to it, there were significant concerns that he may not even be able to attend the space because he could be arrested at any time, any place, based on the multitude of charges that have been against him. But we were lucky we had him on the space. It was a major space. We interviewed him, you interviewed him, and immediately during the space, sorry.
Yeah, before you get to the mutiny, I remember as well two things. At first, I remember you called me and you said, Mario, because we, just to be frank, we discussed potentially rescheduling the space, which obviously sounds pretty crazy. But then hindsight, remember, it was just before, the mutiny started just before the space. So about half an hour before the space, less than half an hour, the Russian mutiny started. So we were discussing whether to delay it or not, but we decided not to delay it. The main reason is the high likelihood that Mr. Khan would have been arrested before we had the space. So that's one part of the story. And there's more things behind the scenes also. That was one of the craziest days we've had on the show. Obviously, the mutiny playing a big role, as well as the interview with Imran Khan. Just before we do that, though, I just ask one favor. If anyone could do me one small favor, we did have a glitch with the other link for the space. That link did crash. So the link that was scheduled, that was promoted on all the pages, is not working. So if you could do us one favor, promote this new link. You could see it on my profile. Let me pin it on my profile as well, so you could see it. And then you could just retweet it or quote retweet it. And if there's any guests that are meant to join, just send them through the link. If you're a guest and you're requesting, we'll bring you up shortly. Just be patient with us, but make sure you share the new link, considering the other link crashed. So that, just wanted to mention that. But Sully, you were telling us about that experience the day we interviewed Mr. Imran Khan.
Yeah. So first of all, we were concerned that the interview won't go ahead. And so we're going to speak a bit about it, about how there's been some form of political attack against Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, as well as many people on his cabinet, some of which we're going to be having on the stage today. And then during the space, as you said, half an hour before the space, we find out that there's going to be a rebellion, a mutiny in Russia. And it's kind of linked to this as well. So we'll talk about it. So basically, we find out that there's a mutiny in Russia, and you called me and you said, shall we cancel the space? And we discussed it, and we thought we just can't cancel the space because Prime Minister Imran Khan could be arrested at any time. He could be taken out of the political situation in any given situation. So therefore, we went ahead with the space. We had the space, and then immediately we had our Russia and Ukraine space, which lasted 24 hours. I think 17 million people saw that space. And then what we saw was that Imran Khan was arrested a few weeks later. He was arrested. And then just a few days later, we've got this. And then I guess that's part of what we're going to talk about is the US involvement in possibly Pakistan politics and possibly the overthrowing or ousting of Imran Khan in relation to the cipher. Now, in terms of the cipher, it does look like that the Pakistani ambassador was in the United States, and there was some kind of interference. Now, what makes that interesting is twofold. First of all, we did ask Imran Khan about the events leading up to it. I think you posted it on your space, on your page, about the events leading up to why he made the comments he did, and then the vote of no confidence that happened the day after. In addition to that, he also spoke about his meeting Putin and the Ukraine-Russia war. And this cipher seems to indicate that the reason for the ousting, or possible reason for the ousting was because of his neutral stance in the Ukraine-Russia war. So there's going to be interesting dynamics to speak about today. But yeah, I'll pass it back over to you, Mario.
Yeah, so I want to start off with just an overview for the audience before we go to Mr. Bukhari and just get latest updates on Mr. Khan and the situation right now. I do want to go to Khaleesi. Khaleesi, can you just give us an overview for anyone that's new here? And obviously, most people know who Imran Khan is, know his story, but just a kind of a 2 to 3 minute overview of who is Imran Khan, the cricket star turned one of, if not the most famous politician or the most influential politician in Pakistani politics, to now being in jail. It's an incredible story. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing you got to admit, the impact he's had on Pakistan is one that cannot be ignored. So, Khaleesi, if you can give us a 2 to 3 minute overview on who Mr. Khan is, and then I'd love to go to Sayyid Bukhari to get the latest updates.
Sure. Hi, Mario and Suleiman. So, for those that don't know, last week, Imran Khan was jailed and then barred from politics for 5 years. It's a difficult time in Pakistan because I believe the president of Pakistan on Wednesday this week has stated that Parliament will be dissolved, National Assembly will be dissolved, a caretaker government will take charge, and the outgoing prime minister and his government have been given 3 days to select a leader. So in terms of Imran Khan, it was in June, I believe, he came on our space, Mario, but in May, he was arrested on corruption charges, and those charges sparked nationwide protests. And they saw, several deaths, over 1,000 arrests, and what was seen to be an unprecedented attack on military property and buildings at the time. So now Imran Khan has been given a 3-year sentence, and he's also disqualified from running for office for 5 years, according to the statement given by the Election Commission. And this trial relates to an inquiry that was conducted by the Election Commission, and they found Imran Khan to be guilty of unlawfully selling state gifts during his tenure as Prime Minister from 2018 to 2022. So that's what it relates to, that they allege that he sold state gifts. Imran Khan has repeatedly denied this, and his party have said that over the weekend they released a statement saying they are going to appeal this, and they have lodged an appeal in the Supreme Court against the decision. Imran Khan also did a video which was recorded prior to him being given the three-year sentence on Saturday. And in that video, he asked his supporters to do peaceful protests to ensure freedom and human rights were maintained, and that he was going through this struggle for the future of Pakistan's children. The counter to that is the outgoing now Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif rejected. So there's this whole cipher thing that's come up as well, which is a cipher that states allegedly that the whole reason Imran Khan was ousted by America was because he wanted to actually maintain some sort of economic ties with Russia to buy cheap grain and cheap fuel for the people of Pakistan. And at that time, sanctions were being put on certain countries, and Imran Khan was prevented from doing that. Shehbaz Sharif, the outgoing prime minister, rejects the US conspiracy claim and says that he himself has been purchasing Russian oil at cheaper rates, and so there is no US conspiracy to oust Imran Khan. So these are the two things basically that are key at the moment. The cipher that has been, I think Intercept actually published it, Intercept claims that shows US involvement in ousting Imran Khan. And then obviously the jail term and the preventing from, him standing in politics for 5 years. So this is where we're at in Pakistani politics at the moment.
Suleiman, anything to add before I go to Sayyid Bukhari?
No, I think so. I think we should go to Zulfi Bukhari and just to give an overview and just a point of note as well. We have got some questions for Zulfi Bukhari, but I'll let you go to him first just to give an overview of what's happening, because he has a more intricate role in terms of what's happening and has a more intricate knowledge as well.
Mr. Bukhari, I'm actually going to do something here. I'm going to play a clip from our last space. And the reason I'm going to play it just before I start asking the first question, because it's related to my first question. And that relates to everyone else around Imran Khan that's also being targeted. And that's kind of the first point I want to touch on is my question to you. I'm going to ask the question, I'm going to play the clip. the latest, if you've been in communication with Mr. Khan, the latest developments there, how's the situation, and everyone else around you and around Mr. Khan. But Sayed, let me play the clip very briefly of Mr. Khan and his concerns in our last space about everyone around him in the party. Pressure, and what do you expect to happen over the next few weeks and months?
Well, Mario, look, it is a very tough time, not just for me. It's a tough time for our country because we are going through one of our worst political and economic crises. It is the worst time for my party workers because 10,000 of them have been stuffed into jails, and this is the hottest time of the year. And they are stuck in these cells, overcrowded cells, and horrendous stories coming out from there are, and a lot of women. There were about almost 300 women they put in jails. So they are going through the worst time. I mean, I'm still in my house, although I expect to be, arrested maybe in the next 10 days. I'm mentally prepared that they will put me to jail because I already have 170 cases. And all my time is spent from, in the last 19 days, I've had to go to courts to deal with 70 cases just in the last 19 days. So it's a matter of time.
So that was a snippet from my interview with Mr. Khan, and you can see his focus and his heart goes to people around him. So, Sayed Bukhari, my question to you is, what's the latest? How's everyone around you? How are you? And obviously, how is Mr. Khan?
Thank you for having me. Let's speak about IK. I think Imran Khan is in a, he's in a basically what you call a death row cell. It's solitary confinement. The court order was basically for him to go to a jail called Adiala Jail, which had facilities that catered for a Category B and a Category A prison. Instead, the police diverted and went to a jail, which is actually in my constituency in Attock, and it's called Attock Prison. But the problem is that it's an old colonial prison, and it doesn't have any Category B or A cells. So he's kept in a cell which is basically a solitary confinement. It's about an 8x8 cell, I would say, 8x9 at max. You don't know if it's day, you don't know if it's night. He's not really being fed well. He hasn't even been given his prayer mat to pray on. And he can't even get water. So he's really being, mistreated inhumanely. And when he met his legal representation after 2.5, 3 days, he said that, they're treating me like an animal. And he laughed and he said they're trying to break me, but it won't work. And I expect more from them. Then his wife met him.
And Zulfi.
Sorry.
Okay, Zulfi, yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
Then his wife met him, and he said the same thing. He said that he didn't get a prayer mat when he wanted to pray. He's not been given water at any particular time, and the same thing that, look, you got to just tell everyone that this is what they're going to do, and this is what we expect. But everyone has to stay strong, and the country has to raise their voice.
So, Zulfi, who's had contact with Mr. Khan over the last few days? You talked about his wife being able to speak to him. You talked about him not getting a prayer mat, not getting water when he requests it. There's no windows in the 8x8 cell, so you can't tell what time it is. You can't tell when it's daytime or nighttime. Have you or has anyone else spoken to Mr. Khan, and how's his spirit?
No, Mario, the problem is that, I just want to take you back a little bit, is that when he got convicted, we must understand that his legal team was not allowed to speak. They did not allow, imagine, them to give their arguments in court. So you have a courtroom where one person is arguing that he's guilty, and they're not allowed to present their defense, and a conviction was given. This is exactly what happened. His highest legal personnel, Khwaja Haris, who's one of the most reputed lawyers in the country, his clerk got abducted on the way to court to Imran Khan the day that he was convicted, and just because he had paperwork and documents and everything with him. So this is what a sham trial it was, and ever since then, when he went to prison, because he's a former prime minister and because he's a former member of National Assembly, he is automatically allowed to go and get category A and category B prison. It's still prison in the same prison, but the cells are slightly better. But purposely, the interior minister came on TV 2 nights ago and he said categorically to an anchor, and I wish whichever Pakistani is listening, they can draw up or I can give you the clip, where the anchor asked him that why is he not in category A or category B? He's entitled to it. He said, yes, he's a former prime minister, he's entitled to it. He's a former member of National Assembly, he's entitled to it. But let him go fight it in court. Meaning that when you go to court, it's going to take another week or two because you'll file it, the hearing date will come, you'll give your arguments, they'll give their arguments, you'll win it eventually after 10 odd days. So he categorically admitted it in front of TV. So my point is that regardless of everything, that's how he's been treated. With the first 2-3 days that he was there, he was not allowed to meet anybody. Then out of his entire 20-member legal team, only one person was allowed to go in for 40 minutes just to get a few documents signed. Only yesterday, the first lady, the ex-first lady, his wife, was allowed to go in and see him for about 20 minutes. And that was about it. So those are the only 2 visits that have happened. None of us are allowed to go see him. No one else is allowed to have any contact.
And Zulfi, my next question is, and Khaleesi, Suli, I know you've got questions as well, so I apologize, but I've got one more question, Zulfi. Can you tell me more about everyone else in the PTI party? Because I know and I'll probably have another clip I'll play in a bit. The targeting is not only towards Imran Khan. There's a lot of people within the party that are on the run. I think Suli said that we have one of the speakers that is currently in hiding. Suli, I'll let you confirm that in a bit if that's the case. And that's been the case for a while. A lot of the families of various members of the PTI party, Imran Khan's party, have been targeted. So, Saeed, if you could update us on that as well.
Yeah, sure. So basically, we have nearly around 13,000 men, women, and children in prison. And majority of them, unfortunately, Mario, I'm not going to say all of them, but majority of them are people that have nothing to do with politics. I'll tell you from my own experience. My first cousin, my elder brother, is a Loresé student. He's an art collector. He has nothing to do with politics whatsoever. He has actually ended up
Zulfi, someone must have called you, dropped out. I hope that's the reason. Zulfi, are you there? So while waiting for Zulfi, just for the rest of the panel, I'll wait for Zulfi to come on. If anyone else could answer the question.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Zulfi. You're back now,
sorry.
Yes, sir.
So what I was saying that there's 13,000 people in prison, men, women, children alike. I won't say all, but majority of them don't have anything to do with politics. My own first cousin, who's a Loresé student from Switzerland, is an art collector, has nothing to do with politics, has been in prison for 2 months. He's been given bail by the court that he's illegally in there. What he's been charged for, he wasn't even in the country. He was traveling Oman, Dubai, and other countries. And he's been given bail. When he came out of prison from bail, and the minute he walked out, other police arrested him and threw him back in. And they keep telling us they're going to give us a charge, but they haven't given us a charge. Like that, you have fashion designers. And I'm talking like the creme de la creme fashion designers of the country. You have poor workers that are just, are workers on ground in our constituencies. They're in prison who have never been around and done anything wrong. So 13,000. You have an 80-year-old woman who's a cancer patient. You have an actress who's in prison, a model who's in prison. You have common women and men and children in prison. If they can't get a hold of me, they'll take my children, and my wife, or my sisters, or someone. So you have all walks of life in prison, unfortunately, at the moment, and that's how they're breaking down on the party as it is. I have arrest warrants for terrorism on me. I have arrest warrants for stealing police gloves. The minute I get back and arrive in the country, I'll be arrested at the airport, along with lots of us. Most of our top tier leadership has been in hiding for over 3 months. Only because if all of our leadership goes into prison and we're all in prison, no one can talk on your space, no one can talk on interviews, no one can lead men or organize anything.
And where are you currently, if you don't mind me asking?
Mario was one of the fortunate ones that before it even all started. I mean, I'm talking like 2 weeks before, even 2 weeks before it even kicked off. I had gone to Dubai for some work with Imran's permission, and then when then Imran Khan called me and he said, "You need to come back because you need to do a big protest in your constituency, the same constituency, ironically, he's arrested in and in the prison in." And so when I got back to Dubai to take the next flight, it was in the morning. That morning, Pakistan being a couple of hours ahead, Imran Khan was arrested, and I got a message: "You'll be arrested the minute you arrive at the airport, so stop, don't get on your flight." So I was one of the fortunate ones. So I'm between London and Dubai, wherever I can try to make some influence, meet some MPs, influentials, lords, baronesses, and ministers from other countries, just trying to create a wave so some people can speak out. But unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, we've had a very disappointing response so far internationally.
And Mr. Bukhari, my next question for you is there and I want to go to the rest of the panel, being outside of Pakistan, do you still face any pressure? Or is it just your family or people close to you that face pressure in Pakistan?
Well, they keep trying to ousting me or bringing me out and calling me out by, they've arrested, like I said, like my elder brother. I have around 6 staff of mine that's in prison, my personal staff. I have around 42 members of my political network that are part of my team politically in my constituency. I keep getting random messages and calls saying you need to behave and stop lobbying and stop doing, I've probably done the most amount of international interviews and everything because I'm an advisor on international relations and media. And so I've done most of them. I keep getting calls saying don't do them, otherwise the consequences are going to be very brutal, and so on and so forth. So at the moment they're just trying to pressurize us by really putting my cousin into a very tough time.
So first of all, Zulfi Bukhari, thank you for joining us. I do have a few questions myself. We know previously that the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, was arrested, and the Supreme Court ruled that it was an illegal detention. And please correct me if I'm wrong. So, I mean, you mentioned about the appeal, so I've got a couple of questions. The first thing is, where are we in the process of the appeal? Because as far as I know, the appeal was delayed. Is it because the judge was ill or something along those lines? If you can clarify that. And the second question is, how confident are you in terms of the Supreme Court maybe overruling this decision and, basically not being controlled by the power, those that are in power in Pakistan?
Mr. Bukhari, I've muted you just because of the background noise. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think, I'm very confident that once it goes on to the entire party is very confident because once it goes into the High Court and then from there into the Supreme Court, we are very confident that they will completely overrule this decision. The case is a completely frivolous case. We can talk about it night and day. It has absolutely no relevance. It's completely made up. There's nothing illegal in it. And they know that. Hence, they got this decision done by a session court, not even a high court. I'm talking about the lowest court there is in the country, which is the most easily manipulated court. And just to give you some reference on what happened next, is the same judge that gave this decision got into a flight the next day, and somehow another judge was going for a course in London. He took his place in court. The notification was issued that judge is no longer going for this paid 1 week or 2 weeks course in the Hull University of London, and this judge is going to be replacing him, and that's what's happened. And he went and replaced him, and he went out. So that was his reward for this judgment. I know once we get into a higher court, we will end up ultimately winning this case, and that's why the delay keeps coming, like you rightly said, that they keep delaying him. That is he going to is the case going to be heard today or tomorrow or the following day? Reality is that whenever it does, he will end up winning it. But also the reality is that they'll use every single game to make sure that it gets delayed.
So just from your own experience in Pakistan, because obviously not many of us are from there. I mean, not many of us know about how it works in terms of the legal system. What kind of process or what kind of timeline of events do you foresee in terms of now the case proceeding to the next highest court and then possibly the Supreme Court?
You got to unmute again, Mr. Bukhari.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think when they wanted to hear the case and prove him guilty, they literally heard it on a daily basis. Sometimes they had 2 hearings in a day just to make sure that it gets done quickly, because the time he gave the verdict was the last day of his before he had to leave the country, and he gave the verdict on the last day. So they were literally hearing 2 hearings a day prior. Now all of a sudden, when we want to go into appeal, and a bail hearing, and he's not even getting a bail hearing. He's not a flight risk. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He doesn't have his passport. He can't go anywhere. Imran Khan has always stated that he has no assets abroad. He has no money abroad. He never leave the country. So the flight risk issue is not there. So even on his bail hearing, let alone the hearing of the case, that one could say that the High Court judge needs to study it longer or something. But even his bail hearing is being delayed continuously, purposely on this. So we're pushing it. We're pushing it aggressively. It's inevitable that he will get bail on this and he'll come out of this. The problem is, or the difficulty they're going to try to create, is that he has around 200 cases on him. So what they will do is eventually make him run from pillar to post, from one case, getting convicted, going to prison for 2 days, coming back out, getting bail, winning the case, then the next case, the same thing. And they'll just have him running around in this circle from bails to courts and to jails and prisons for the next few months.
So, Sulti, I just want to ask you a question. Back in May, when Imran Khan came on the space, he said he was facing 150 plus charges for various different things, and he mentioned terrorism, with corruption, everything else, and he went to length to speak about the situation he was in, which he said was ridiculous to have that many charges. My understanding is this prison term and the suspension from him standing again is related to the corruption charge. So do you foresee more trials or court cases with further charges being implemented by the judiciary in Pakistan?
Mr. Bukhari, you got to unmute again.
So the corruption charges were on these basically selling state items, which aren't state items. They're given by foreign countries, and then you're given the right to purchase them back at a certain quota, which he did. He paid capital gains tax. He put them in his accounts and his year-ending accounts and everything of the sort. So there was nothing there that's illegal. And by the way, every single prime minister and minister has done this. And so once he purchases them, they become his asset. He can sell them, break them, give them to you. It's his choice. They're his belongings, like yours are yours. So there's nothing in it really in that case. Now what they will do is that they will try to go for other cases on different things, from, like I said, from terrorism to stealing a ballpoint pen, and that's how varied his cases are. And that will keep him running from court to court. But unfortunately, what they haven't done is they don't have one single case which is everlasting and that can stick. And inevitably, once it gets to the Supreme Court, he'll win automatically. So it's just a question of going to the High Court, and that's what they're going to carry on delaying, getting to the High Court. Eventually, he'll get there and he'll win, and then the next case will start. This is going to be the game plan.
Okay, I just want to... Sorry, Mario, against my...
Yeah, I was going to go to Mr. Jahanzeb as well. Sorry, I'll give you the mic before doing so. And I've got a clip to play, and I want to start moving to the US involvement discussion, because we'll do that in a bit. But yeah, Jahanzeb, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So, but the question goes to you as well. Can you give us just an idea of how things are? I know you're based in the UK, but your family, your loved ones, and other members of the PTI party, because I know that was a big concern of Mr. Khan. When I interviewed him, I asked him on 2 occasions, like, is he ready to go to jail? Is he worried? What about his family? And all he refers to was his party members and the suffering they're going through. So that's why I wanted to ask that same question for you, Mr. Jahanzeb.
Thank you very much, Mario, and thank you, Suleiman, and welcome to Zulfi Bukhari. yes, I mean, the situation is quite tough. Luckily, we are overseas, and the Pakistani diaspora all across the globe, uh, majority of them, they support Imran Khan and Imran Khan's vision for Pakistan. So at the moment in Pakistan, as Ruju Bhai has explained, the situation is pretty tough, for the citizens, for the people of Pakistan, because you can't protest, you can't, raise your voice against the human rights violations, and everything which is going on in Pakistan. Hence, we are trying to do something overseas, where we can bring this case to the outer world, that look, this is not a democracy should look like, and this is an absolute fascism which is going on in Pakistan, that you're trying to dismantle a political party which holds the support from the majority of the people of Pakistan. So of course, individually, if you ask me, for myself, and there's a lot of people who are involved overseas with the party, for themselves, and for their families. We have got some challenges back home, and but we are trying to we're trying to do our effort, and the only thing which we are trying to do is just to just to let the Western world, especially, know that you need to look. You can't be silenced on all these incidents and cases which are happening in Pakistan. So you need to step in one way or the other, and all we want is a democracy, flourishing in Pakistan, and the only way to do that is free and fair elections. And this is the only demand Imran Khan had, and you need to give it to the man, because he categorically has said that I'm not afraid of the cases you have made on me. Keep those cases on, and I will fight them legally. But the only demand I have is just the elections. So hold the elections in Pakistan, and then you will see how people will respond to that.
And Mr. Jahanzeb, and I'm going to go to Mike on this question as well, and that's regarding U.S. interference in the ouster of Mr. Khan. So Sulaiman, can you tell us what the allegations are? I know Khaleesi touched on it earlier, and then right afterwards I'll play a clip. Actually, I'll play a clip because that explains it pretty well, and then Sulaiman, you can add to it, and then we'll go to Mike to kind of elaborate further and kind of dig into it to see whether the US was involved and how involved were they. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, Mr. Khan did talk about this in our clip, in our space. It didn't get as much attention as I think it would have deserved, considering the mutiny happened literally at the same time. But then we saw a leak 2 days ago, which we'll talk about in a bit. Let me play the clip. It's a 2-minute clip of Mr. Khan talking exactly about the same point.
And you said you expect to be in jail, or do you accept? As in
this is the, hold on, this is the wrong clip. Give me 2 seconds. There it is, this one here.
What you say about, what happened, in the ouster of my government. Now, what happens is, I'll just narrate you the facts. On the 6th of March 2022, I see my ambassador in Washington. He sends a cipher. Cipher is a coded message. And it says that he has an official meeting with an American official who tells him, my ambassador, that unless I am removed, Prime Minister Imran Khan is removed in a vote of no confidence, there'll be consequences for Pakistan. And the next day, the vote of confidence is tabled. So the cipher comes before the vote of no confidence. And then, within weeks, my government goes. Now, at the time, I thought that it was the US who had instigated this. Later on, it transpired, and as things unfolded over a period of time, that it was actually our army chief who hired this lobbyist from my government's money. He paid him $30,000 to lobby against me that I was supposed to be anti-American, and the army chief was pro-American.
So you've got Mr. Khan, he initially blaming or implying that he was blaming the US, and then later blaming the army chief. But then we do have a leak that came in a couple of days ago. Let me mute this. It came in on August 10th, so 2 days ago. And days following his arrest, we get the leak that says a classified document has surfaced, revealing that the US State Department exerted pressure on the Pakistani government to depose Imran Khan due to his neutral stance on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Talks about a meeting between the Pakistani ambassador and the US two State Department officials on March 7th, 2002, a month prior to Khan's removal from power through a no confidence vote. During the meeting, State Department official Donald Lu expressed considerable concern about Pakistan's position on Ukraine, emphasizing that if Khan continued in office, challenges would persist. Lu also cautioned that Pakistan might face isolation from Western allies if the situation remained unresolved. In response, the Pakistani ambassador expressed frustration with the lack of engagement from US leadership, highlighting a perception that the US sought Pakistan's support on significant matters but did not reciprocate. And then the conversation concluded that with Lu acknowledging that damage to the relationship was real but not insurmountable. He suggested that without Khan, the relationship could return to its previous state. And following the meeting, Khan's opponents in parliament initiated crucial procedural steps leading to the no confidence vote. Mike, I would love to get your thoughts on this breaking news from 48 hours ago.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah. So, did you say Mike, Mario?
Yeah, I think he's friendly.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, because yesterday you gave quite a detailed account of the way you understood it. If you can just
this is like yet another of these shocking, barren third world corruption stories out of Biden world, where, according to the chronology from The Intercept, Donald Lu, who was the U.S. State Department official who corralled those meetings with the Pakistani officials, got a tongue lashing on the floor of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about what the State Department was doing to get Pakistan in line. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee, according to The Intercept, was basically pissed that the State Department was not beating Pakistan over the head sufficiently to get their resources more motivated in the Ukraine war, the Ukraine war from which the Biden family personally stands to profit from, as well as the Biden family backers like George Soros, who have major stakes in Naftogaz, the Ukrainian public energy company, as well as all the private energy companies like Burisma. So they basically tried to, and remember, Joe Biden was the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for 40 years. He rotated between being chairman and ranking member of that very committee, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, one of the most powerful committees in all of Congress, arguably the most powerful. So they browbeat this guy, Donald Lu, who's the State Department head of Central Asia, to get Pakistan in line, to mobilize and help with the war effort. And I know there are a bunch of other things too that are on that shit list that they have around Imran Khan and populism. And then days after that, Donald Lu orchestrates this meeting and gives a mafia talk where he threatens carrots and sticks to the Pakistani, essentially to the. It sounds like this is now. Remember, the Pakistani military intelligence state has had, a multi-decade history with the U.S. national security state. I mean, anyone who's read Russ Baker's Chamber of Secrets and any number of historiographies of the relationship between Pakistan and some of the elite families in the U.S. I mean, the Pakistani ISI works very closely with the Central Intelligence Agency and the State Department. There have always been these back channels between the unelected governance structures of Pakistan and the deep state of the United States. It's been a launching pad for everything from the war on terror to long before that with the Mujahideen in order to oust the Soviets from Afghanistan. So they're trying to run a replay of that, but they ran into Imran Khan. And how many military contractors, how many energy stakeholders in the U.S. national security foreign policy mafia depend on winning this war against Russia and seizing everything from the Black Sea to the Caspian, as well as everything else that will have in terms of a grip over Africa and Central Asia. And so they basically did a mafia style, nice country, it'd be shame if something happened to it, to the folks evidently in the Pakistani parliament via this State Department meeting. Folks got the message, and one thing I just retweeted at the top of my timeline if folks want to go there and watch it, but I just retweeted it. It's right under my pin tweet now. But it's the question of how did Donald Lu even know there was going to be a no confidence vote about the removal of Imran Khan. How did the U.S. diplomat know? Did a little birdie? Did he have this sort of psychotic Nostradamus fever dream that happened to come true? That just the next day there would be this
So Mike, to be more direct, do you think it was the US that requested it, or do you think the US just had prior knowledge and had a role in influencing it?
I suspect that many of the civil society structures set up and funded by the State Department were in talks for a very long time with Pakistani members of parliament and members of opposition political parties in order to organize this. And it had already come to a head where it was on the cusp of happening. It was teetering on that ledge of that fulcrum when that meeting came around, and that meeting served as a sort of push. And I suspect that because these things are never done directly, you're not going to even find this in a cable. These are done through back channels. I suspect that contemporaneous with that meeting, there were back channel conversations from essentially body men of Donald Liu talking about the kinds of lucrative payoffs that would accrue to the folks who orchestrated the coup to oust Khan once they did it, so that it was patently clear what was being said only through clenched teeth by Donald Liu in that meeting.
Suleiman.
Yeah, I mean, let me go to Jeremy, and before we go, and then after that we can just balance the space out a bit and go to a few other people. But Jeremy, you've been keeping track of this. Now, what the argument that some people make on the other side is that the cipher is not real. There is no legitimate evidence about it, and therefore there wasn't really US involvement. What's your thoughts on that? Because obviously, as many of us know, basically following and talking about foreign policy, talking about NATO, talking about Western policy, they have a propensity to basically delve into the politics of foreign nations. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Right. Well, so when I interviewed Imran Khan, I'm just going to stand up to me. I'm not a journalist or anything, but I interviewed him because I've done comedy tours of Pakistan, and I interviewed him on July 16th, and he said exactly what he told you in your interview, where he's claimed for a very long time about this cable, and they've denied. The State Department has denied over and over and over. People in Pakistan denied the existence of this cable. Painting him as this paranoid, delusional person. And suddenly, great journalism by Ryan Grimm and Mark saying with The Intercept, publishing this leak to cable. And what's interesting is that in the time since that leak, no one in Pakistan has denied that this is real. No one has said that it's fake. The only thing that's happened is the Prime Minister, Sharif, has said that it was a great crime that it was leaked. So, I mean, there's certainly people online who are saying this is fake, but the State Department is not saying that it was fake, and certainly no one in Pakistan, currently in power, is saying that it was fake. I think that sort of silence is deafening, and I think we can take it as real.
Jeremy, I have a question that
Sure.
has been asked, and after this I will go to Professor Hassan because I know he raised his hand earlier. But one of the questions that has come up over the last few days is that if Imran Khan was prevented from doing business with Russia, which is why the basis for this cipher is that's the basis that he was ousted, then why did they let the preceding government, Shehbaz Sharif's government, continue doing business with Russia?
Oh, you mean the supposed what's it called? The discount that they supposedly got on grain?
Yeah. So Imran Khan
which Russia has denied and has said that's not true. So I think that claim of anyways, the discount that was claimed that Pakistan is getting on Russian grain or whatever. It just pales in comparison to the military deals that are on the table and that got triggered right away when Imran Khan was ousted. So the military deals that that Pakistan, you know, as far as arming Ukraine, you know, dwarf the supposed benefits that they're getting from Russia.
So what you're saying is that if they were allowed to do any business with Russia, it's on the quid pro quo because they've actually complied and provided arms to Ukraine in return. And even then,
Absolutely.
the discount was huge. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Sure.
Let's go to, thanks, Jeremy. Let's go to Professor Hassan. You had your hand raised earlier. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask one thing that you mentioned that the cipher actually was the reason for Imran Khan to go. The no confidence movement, as we know in the Pakistan, the opposition actually held meetings and discussions on that 6 months before Imran Khan going to Russia. And on the 24th of February, probably or the 27th of the February, when he went over there, Putin actually declared the war on the Ukraine, and it was very much evident before his visit to Moscow that that was not the right time to go, because the Cold War, the tug of war, the Cold War between America and America and the Moscow was going on, and Khan actually selected the very wrong time to go over there. But cipher or the no confidence movement actually did not happen with just one push, with just one button, and it did not happen in just one day.
Can I ask you a question? You said that he chose the wrong moment to go to Russia, but aren't these state visits pre-planned well in advance? So, I mean, how can it be? So my question is, that's my first part of my question. Second part of my question is, how would he have been able to foresee that that Putin was going to make the move that he made?
Yeah, and I think Imran Khan was in our space. I've asked him, and I either asked him or he hinted that he was not aware, he was not expecting this at all, and I think he only found out about it from memory during the interview. So I don't think it was, no matter what Mr. Khan's stance is, it just doesn't make sense to intentionally go during an invasion or declaration of war. Hassan?
Actually, when Khan went to the Beijing Olympics, he tried to meet with the Putin, and he was not able to make that happen because he was not given the proper protocol, and he did not actually meet Putin. And then he prepared the visit to Russia. But we can't say that Imran Khan government was gone just because of the Russian visit, because already he had very severe ties with the Americans, and he was waiting for that telephone call from the Biden, if you remember. So Biden never called him when he came in power, because Imran Khan was completely favoring the Trump all his time. So what I see here, there might be a little push from the cipher for one reason, but Imran Khan actually used that cipher for delaying or for manipulating the vote of no confidence in the assembly as well. Qasim Suri raised that cipher in the air and said that we are denying this vote of no confidence movement, and we are moving ahead with that. So they were actually trying to play with the cipher thing.
Okay, so let me go to Zulfi Bukhari again, because I do want to ask you that question. To me, logically, what Professor Hassan said doesn't make sense. And I don't think anybody, and please do clarify, I don't think anybody's making the argument that the reason for this cipher, or the reason why the US wanted the removal of the Prime Minister Imran Khan, wasn't due to the visit, but it was due to his more neutral stance. And obviously NATO and the US and the UK wanted a more biased stance. They wanted to be pro-Ukraine in the war. I mean, is that the reason, or is it what Professor Hassan said, where it's literally just based on... Sorry, we couldn't hear that.
Yeah, I think he's driving, maybe.
Yeah, Mr. Bukhari, we cannot hear you too well, Mr. Bukhari. So I'll let you fix the mic and then jump in right after. We can go to Ahmed.
Same question to Summer. Summer, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Bukhari. No, it's not much better. I think Bukhari, if you could fix the mic in any way, it'd be great. Can you give it a shot? We'll go to Summer and then we'll go to you right after, Mr. Bukhari. Summer.
Hi. Yeah. I mean, my position is
this is clearly an establishment strike against a man who will not toe the international line. He is saying, I don't want bases in my country. He is saying, why did you do the war on terror? He is saying, you've destroyed neighboring Afghanistan, who are my ethnic brothers, they're Pashtuns, and I'm not going to stand for this. He's made cancer hospitals. He actually cares about the populace. The current ruling elite in Pakistan are crooks. They've been looting the country for decades. They've been taking bribes from all kinds of sources, whether it's the IMF, the US, and whatever. And anyone who has any doubt if the US is meddling in Pakistan, you only have to look at the history of the last 20 years on how much meddling has taken place. The only reason why Pakistan hasn't got the Afghanistan treatment is because they are nuclear armed. That's the only reason why. And you know, guys, look, what list do you need to know? Economic hitmen, Guantanamo, the war on terror, the rejection of US bases. What more do you need to know that there is so much circumstantial evidence that the US is involved? And then look at the perverse situation where we now know, because of leaks, that terrorism has been funded by US intelligence and other Western agencies, and yet that is the pretext used to invade the very countries where they say, oh, we're coming to save you, we're coming to save your democracy. They don't care about democracy. Look what they're doing to Pakistan's democracy. So my position is clear, and if you want more details, I have plenty more on my list of topics to discuss. But yeah, I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks that they're not involved and meddling now with the past history, you are extremely naive and you need to wake up.
Thanks for that, Summer. Zulfi, have you managed to sort your mic situation out? Zulfi Bukhari, have you managed to sort your mic situation out? Okay, so while you need to unmute your mic if you can. Okay, while you're sorting that out, let me go to Ahmed Hassan. Ahmed Hassan, you've got had your hand up for a while.
Let me, before going to Ahmed, Summer, hold on, I just want to know your stance, Summer. Do you think the US was directly involved? Do you think they asked for the removal of Mr. Khan, they influenced it, or because in Imran Khan's interview, he does say his initial thoughts was that the US was involved. That's obviously before the leak, that the US was responsible for his ouster. But he's throughout the interview about his narrative over the last couple of months, he's been distancing himself from criticizing the US and starting to criticize the military establishment in Pakistan. So we'd like to get your thoughts on Khan's distancing from the US. What you think is behind it? Is it strategic? Is it strategic so to avoid getting jailed? Or is there information that we don't know? And obviously I want to know your stance considering what Khan said and what the leak mentioned as well.
Yeah, I think it may be tactical. I mean, with the dynamic in Pakistan, what's happening is the army is trying to obviously reject the fact that the accusations that they are in bed with the US, and that is why they're facilitating the harsh measures against Imran Khan. Whether it was that he got more information, that actually it was more on the army side and less on the US side, I don't know. But one thing is for certain is the links between the US and the army and the fact that they've been funding them and basically coercing the democracy to give the outcome that the US wants, which is highly undemocratic, as I'm sure you all will agree. That's obviously the whole problem to all of this. And yeah, Imran Khan, look, at the end of the day, he's a politician. He has to try and balance the situation where he wants. You see, this is the fine line everyone has to walk. We see it with Jeremy Corbyn. These anti-establishment figures, they want to get into a position where they can help the country, but they have to maneuver around all of the things that are going on. And I think that's what he had to do in this situation. And look at the situation he's in now. He was right to be concerned about what was going to take place.
Regarding the cipher, I just want to add one more line. Imran Khan himself denied that US was not behind the removal of his own government, and the cipher was actually meant for the Bajwa, not for him. Please carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because the thing is, if you look at the story of the cipher, Summer, from when it was first mentioned last year at the point of vote of no confidence, there's been many differing kind of explanations from Imran Khan himself. At one point it was lost. At one point he couldn't share it with the court because it was coded. So it might be politics, it might be tactics, but I think we just have to kind of look at that as to where we've got here. But let's go to Ahmed, and maybe he can speak about this a little bit more. Go ahead, please, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you, Khalisi. So honestly, about the cipher and the American involvement, now this goes way back. I mean, it started off when Imran Khan, waved a letter in a in a political gathering, and he said that it's the American conspiracy behind his vote of no confidence. But later on, in September, to be precise, on 12th September 2022, after being ousted, Imran Khan met an ex-CIA analyst in Banigala, which raised a lot of eyebrows. And then all of a sudden, in October, in November, in December, Imran Khan started to back off from the US conspiracy narrative. And then he said, and I'm going to quote him, in October, Imran Khan said that it was not USA that ousted me. It was basically the Super King General Bajwa which ousted me. And then Imran Khan even backed off from that narrative as well. And he said that it's okay. And I'm going to quote him again. He said, it's okay. I agree that army did not remove me, but they could have stopped it. I mean, Imran Khan is basically complaining on the fact that army did not intervene on his behalf and blackmail the politicians not to vote against him. And honestly speaking, why would the United States of America want to remove Imran Khan? I mean, look at Imran Khan and his cabinet. Look at, the troika of Imran Khan, General Bajwa, and General Faiz Hamid. All of these three were pro-USA. Just take a look at Imran Khan's cabinet. Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the foreign minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan's second in command, his son was an employee of John Kerry. There are deep links and open evidence that the cabinet of Imran Khan was in close ties with the Trump administration, especially Jared Kushner, the senior members of Imran Khan's cabinet. Then Imran Khan's PSO, Mr. Shahbaz Gill, he was a professor in USA before he came and became Imran Khan's spokesperson. And ironically, now after so-called removal of Imran Khan's government by the United States of America, the same America is sheltering Shahbaz Gill to protect Imran Khan and launch campaigns to bring Imran Khan back to power. Then there is another guy, Moeed Yusuf. He was the National Security Advisor of Pakistan. Again, he was an ex-American. He used to work in American think tanks. Now, I mean, if you look at the cabinet, it was full of US citizens who have taken an oath to be loyal to the United States of America.
Ahmed, let me just ask a question. So, so one thing, that again, I'm not an expert on Pakistani politics, but from what I understand, was there not a scenario where there was a request made by Pakistan?
Yeah, is that okay if I just intrude here because I have to shoot off? Is that okay, Mario?
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Bukhari. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I have to shoot off after this. Look, I don't want to disappoint the extremely well misinformed gentlemen that are on your chat show. First of all, he's claimed that all three of the people that he's mentioned are citizens of the United States. They are categorically not the citizens of the United States. That's one thing. Secondly, he said that one of them is close to Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner was not in power at the time of the ousting of Imran Khan's government. So again, I don't think he has his timelines correct whatsoever. There was a gentleman prior to that who was even more misinformed and felt that Imran Khan made up this cipher issue or there was a problem. You must remember, factual. Let's talk facts for a second before we get into these weird misconceptions. Fact is, there were 3 national security meetings held with every single armed forces leader. So the Army, Navy, Air Force heads are on it, the foreign ministers on it, the National Security Advisor, Prime Minister, everybody's in that meeting. And in that meeting, it was categorically, and then by a press conference by ISPR, which is the Army's spokesperson, saying that the language used in the cipher was non-diplomatic and a démarche. A démarche is it's a very criticizing document where you've obviously said things that are categorically wrong. Now, the cipher, if it's been leaked, if it's genuine, not genuine, like the lady said prior, it hasn't been denied by the US State Department. It hasn't been denied by the Foreign Office. It hasn't been denied by the Pakistani government or the American government. So let's just take, for example, hypothetically, that right now that this cipher is fairly accurate to everything that Imran Khan is saying. Now let's backtrack a little bit more. Imran Khan is who? Imran Khan is someone coming into politics before 27 years as someone who had the integrity in international cricket to bring in third umpires. There was never international umpires in international cricket. It was only him who wrote a letter and moved the movement of having international umpires so they don't have biased decisions done. It was Imran Khan who's ever called an outgoing batsman back into into bat because he felt that the decision was wrong. He was a man of integrity throughout. You have his charitable organizations in Pakistan till today, which even the opposition party main senior leaders donate to because they know the integrity of those institutions and the man behind the institution, Imran Khan, even if they are people that are swearing at him on television. So here you have one guy who's built integrity for the last 27 years, and here you have other people who unfortunately have shaded past. Now, the outgoing, when he said that I didn't believe, or when one says, quote unquote, backtracked or changed his track that America wasn't behind it, is because if you read the cipher, it says categorically that the information we have gathered, quote unquote, the information we have gathered, where is that information coming from? So when he said that I'm backtracking from that information, because that information was homegrown, that information was from within Pakistan. Now we can argue who that information was from. It certainly wasn't from our party. It was obviously from the others. And when you say that he didn't lose government on a mandated populist masses vote, he was ousted from a no vote conference where 30 members or 20 odd members of his party went to the other side. Go through the history of those 20 odd members. See how many parties they've changed. See where they stand today. See if they can even win an election in their constituency today. So we must keep things in perspective of what we actually want from Pakistan and what has taken place. No one is saying, I will tell you categorically, do I think America masterminded this entire thing? Absolutely not. But did they get fed certain information from certain agencies and certain top personnel? Absolutely yes. And it wasn't only because of the Russia thing. That's also incorrect. The Russia was just the icing on the cake. And one of the colleagues on the shows on this space said that the Russia incident only happened because he didn't get protocol. Again, absolute rubbish. I mean, the guy has no clue. The only reason the Russia visit went through is because Pakistan and Russia have had a very bruised relationship over the few years. There's a pipeline that was supposed to be built maybe 10 years ago called the North and South Pipeline. And Pakistan, unfortunately, wasn't even able to complete that. So President Putin was deeply disappointed, let's say, with doing any further business with Pakistan. It's only because of the previous visits Imran Khan and President Putin actually got along. And he said, listen, we haven't had national visits or sovereign visits G to G for maybe, I think, close to 2 decades. So he said, let's change that. And it was only due to that relationship that he had and, quote unquote, the protocol that the two had between each other, that a date was agreed. No one knew. None of us knew of an attack on Ukraine. Categorically, if we even had an idea, we would not even have attended it. Obviously, we knew the US was getting upset. We had calls from the US that they were getting upset about the visit. But like India, exactly like India, we wanted a sovereign, independent foreign policy which benefits the people of 240 million Pakistanis, not X amount of Americans living in the United States or so and so people living in UK or any other country. Whatever policy we wanted to take was so that we can provide enough economic help and subsidies to our people, not anyone else's. That was the only thing. We want the best of relations with the United States. We want the best of relationships with anyone else.
Luffy, I know you're in a hurry to go. I have one question from one of the Imran Khan supporters, and he said, Cypher is real and IK position is cleared that he wasn't lying. So why can't the PTI legal team file a counter case on government that they initially denied the reality of the Cypher and blamed Imran Khan for false allegations?
Well, look, I'll tell you two things. And now I'm going to talk firstly without the PTI or Imran Khan being, one of his best friends and cabinet ministers as well, and obviously a leader in his party. Without that, I will say the cipher leaking is a very disappointing thing, because overall is damaging for Pakistan, because Pakistan needs to take much more better care of their of more sacred documents, or more documents that require better security around them. So leaking is not something that Imran Khan or his party or any Pakistani would be proud of, first of all. Intercept has denied that it's the actual leak of the entire cipher. They just said that they had some source that gave it to them. What have you? I don't know. But the point is that it's disappointing that all of that has come out. The only beneficial bit of it is that now the truth is out in the open, that what Imran Khan has been saying for 14 months. And you must remember, it's not about me. It's not about the 2-3 other gentlemen that spoke in this space that even matters or has any opinion, any real opinion. Their opinion that only matters is the 240 million people of Pakistan. And no one with sane mind and eyes that are wide open can see that the entire country is not behind him and didn't believe him from day one of what he told about the cipher, which has now come out to be true. But they believed him from day one only because Imran Khan may have all his flaws, but they know that he's a truthful man with integrity. That is one thing. His policies might be flawed. The people he appoints might be flawed. We can argue that night and day. Some of them things I might even agree with you with. Some of them I'll disagree with you with. But everyone knew that he had them. The point is of going into filing a suit and doing all these kind of things is not worth putting the country through it. The cipher should never be leaked. The cipher is something that Imran Khan kept very sacred to it. Otherwise, he could have just leaked it and said, here you go. You want to know why I was ousted? Here's the actual document in front of my hand. But he tried to play it in a much more mature way. He had absolute power before getting shot, before getting imprisoned, before getting disqualified. He had absolute power of the masses of the country. He tried to handle it with the most amount of responsibility. He never incited violence. Anything that happened, his 27 years is based on peaceful protest. His 27 years has been only on the basis of free and fair elections, democracy, and the judicial system to be living up to it. He still says, as long as the Supreme Court of Pakistan holds true, it doesn't matter what cell he is in, it doesn't matter what category prison he is in, Pakistan will survive and democracy will survive. And that's his entire basis of his elections campaign and his politics. All I'm saying is that you may love him, you may hate him, you may, be indifferent to him. The point is the guy has stood up for something which is actually what we all strive for in all our communities, in all our countries. He wants to stand up for rule of law. He wants to stand up for equality amongst all people of their country, rich, poor, middle class, whatever. And he just wants everyone to be an equal citizen and free and fair elections, and they should have the mandate. That is all that he has always demanded throughout his politics. And I think we should respect him for that, because he's sitting in prison for only those principles in this day and age.
Mr. Bukhari, I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, then I'll go to you, Bill. So the question is this: we have a very large audience from the United States, and so we've seen recently a political.
Sorry, I lost you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Zulfi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so Suleiman, I think, is having difficulty hearing you. Do you want to say the question and I can repeat it?
Yeah, sure. So the question
I didn't get a question. Someone said Mr. Bukhari in between, and I lost.
Yeah, Zulfi, Suleiman wants to ask a question, but if you can't hear him, I will relay it to you. Give me 1 second. Sure. Go ahead, Suleiman.
Right. So the question is this: we have a very large United States audience, and what they've seen in the United States is a targeted political attack against President Trump, where there's been a number of cases against him. And when Imran Khan joined our space, he talked about having over 170 cases against him. Is this, again, can you draw parallels with what's happening in other countries where a political opponent is being taken out based on the legal system?
So, Zulfi, the question Suleiman would like to ask you is that we have a very large US audience, and Mario and Suleiman do a lot of spaces on what's happening with President Trump, where the legal system in America has been used, they feel, to target a political opponent. When Imran Khan came on this space previously, he spoke about 170 plus charges against him. Can you draw parallels between what's happening with President Trump and what's happening with Imran Khan in that? Do you feel the legal system is being used to take out a political opponent in Pakistan? You can unmute your mic, please, on the bottom left.
I think what we need to just ask ourselves that has the US ever been involved in other countries and their democratic or their entire system altogether? You know, if the answer to that is yes, then why do we hold different parallels for Pakistan? And B, I think what's happening with President Trump, and if you can draw parallels to Imran Khan, both are populist leaders, both are people that I think if it was just left to the masses, maybe the outcomes would be in their favor. In Pakistan, at least, I definitely believe so in 2/3 majority. You know, so I think and you know, I will say I think the way that it's going about with President Trump, you know, it unfortunately will leave a lot for one to wonder that why is this happening so quickly? Why are all these things being so you know, pushed upon so quickly onto him when right next to the elections and all? It will always leave the mind to wonder and ask more questions. And you know, we just hope that in both countries truth can prevail, which regardless which way it goes, as long as truth can prevail. If Imran Khan was guilty, no one would have a problem with him. But it's funny that no one believes it, and it's funny that no one wants it. It's funny that even people that are sitting on the fence that aren't even Imran Khan supporters turn around and say it's not right for him not to have served his full 5-year term. It's really sad what's happening to him. The people that are in prison, you know, women that are in prison at the moment that have nothing to do with inciting violence, nothing to do with any form of violence or anything, were just out protesting, are now in prison. People that are politicians' wives, they can't get hold of the male politician, so they threw the wife in. I mean, this kind of stuff was never even heard of in Pakistan. The last time this happened was like 1971.
Mr. Bukhari, my name is Will Pujols, and I'm out of the United States of America. And first of all, I want to tell you, thank you. You're a great man, and everything that you guys have done is great. I'm a huge supporter of Mr. Imran Khan because of everything that he's done. I've learned about his whole career, and he is a man of integrity, a man of honesty. He's a great Muslim, and one of the main reasons I started looking into him to begin with. And, you know, all of his speeches and everything that he's done for the Muslim community around the world, you know, we love the work. And let me tell you something. I think that the case is extremely ridiculous, right? You know, these watches or whatever they're talking about that, you know, it's just crazy. I cannot believe that we're even having this conversation today. I cannot even believe that there will people out there that will actually doubt this man after everything that he's done, the cancer hospitals, you know, helping out the poor, you know, bringing equality to your country. And then, you know, this whole thing in terms of the USA, of course, the USA has something to do with it. Look what they're doing to their own presidential candidate in the United States of America. I mean, you don't have to have a brain or have any type of intellect to know that this is an international hit job on two presidents or one prime minister and a president that are anti-war, right? Because they did not want war. Mr. Khan and Mr. Trump sat down together. They shook hands. I actually have them right behind me on the TV. If anybody wants to come look at my screen right now, and I can tell you that this is nothing but an international hit job. The elections are coming up, and all they want is to take these guys out so they do not become leaders of their country. Anyone who cannot wrap their mind around that is completely insane and not living in this world. Now, I have spoken to so many people in Pakistan, you know, in the last few days, you know, and I'm not a Pakistani, right? I'm just a Muslim living in America, but I have a huge a following from Pakistan, you know, and I've been speaking to all of them, a lot of them crying. Every single person, I want to say, has nothing but good things to say about Mr. Khan, unless they are like tied to the army in one shape or another, which, you know, I totally understand them. But, you know, I've looked into what's going on in your country, and it's completely ridiculous. You know, even in terms of the military, the way that they live, you know, everything they have access to, and not the regular people. I mean, you know, I can almost compare it to Hitler's Germany, right? It's just unbelievable what's happening. And just know that you have an ally here in the United States of America. I am following you, and just know that if the PTI needs anything from me, you know, I will be glad to use my voice. I've been using it ever since this happened. Back in May, when Mr. Khan was first arrested, I started speaking out. Then I learned that he got out. He started using his own voice. And for the most part, you know, every single person in Pakistan backs him. And then when I found out that he got arrested the other day, I haven't slept, just talking to everyone, you know, tweeting out and letting the Americans know what's going on, because the Americans need to know what's going on. If this is happening in Pakistan, it's happening in the United States of America, right? It's
well,
just unbelievable.
I think Brother Bahari needs to leave soon. So if you want to just quickly summarize your question to him, and then you can answer.
No. I don't have any questions for him, because he answered everything that I needed to know. And I know that Mr. Bukhari is an honest man, and I just want him to know that Pakistan has your guys' backs. The losers, especially a couple of people that I've heard that doubt Mr. Khan, forget about those guys. The majority of your country loves you, and that's all that I'm here to say. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Well, Mr. Bahari,
Mario, can I?
on that?
Yeah. Look, I'll be totally honest, and I'll use this platform. And the reason it's ironic that I'm using this platform is because the last time when Mr. Khan was on this, I had a lot of people from even within my party and others saying, don't go onto this platform. You know, any awkward questions could be asked, and you know, they're pro this guy and that guy, and this may cause Imran Khan a problem. And I did my research. I got my own comfort level, and I said to Imran Khan that, look, I'm comfortable with this. I'm going to sign this off. Are you with me? And he said, yeah, if you're happy, I'll do it. And it ended up becoming a massive reach. If I'm not mistaken, Mario, it went up to like, I think 20 odd million or something, the reach of the program. So it's ironic, and it's very, it's an honorable moment for me to be here speaking after Imran Khan, you know, my leader, my mentor, on this platform. I really want to thank the gentleman for his kind wishes and everything he has said. And I know that a lot of people feel that for Mr. Imran Khan across the world. I will say one thing, and I'll say it especially to the people of Pakistan or even outside of Pakistan. The worst thing you can do for Imran Khan is pitch him against his own army. It's his army. It's the army is his, and Imran Khan belongs to them. We're eventually we are one. It doesn't matter. We might have 2-3 personnel in the army having a disagreement or difference of opinion, and that turning into this, you know, bitter battle that is going on at the moment. But eventually, for Pakistan to go forward, both the democratic and the electoral sphere will have to work alongside with the institutional aspect of our country. The army has been part of politics for the last 75 years in our country. Good, bad, the ugly comes all with it. To make everyone working in their own domain, the democratic side and the institutional army side, will take time. But that will also be when they start working together on the same page and they're in agreement. It won't be through fighting. It won't be through ego, you know, battles and everything. And, you know, pardon my French, but pissing contests. We will have to end up getting along and defining each other's space. And that's the only way that the country is going to move on. The country can't move on with ignoring, you know, populist leaders in the history of Pakistan like Imran Khan, and we can't move on without having the institution backing us or backing any political party that's in power. They shouldn't have a voice in who comes into power. They should back whoever is in power to give them the fair chance of running the country for the 5-10 years that they win their elections. And that is the only way. And if we really want Imran Khan to win, that's the way that we should operate. We should never, ever pitch the two of them against each other. That's the worst thing that's happened, I think, in the last 14 months, and we need to learn from that. But yes, eventually, we do believe Imran Khan is in the right, and he's only wanted one thing, and that is that he just preaches free and fair elections. And everyone from internationally, I will say one last thing, and sorry for the long sort of monologue, but the one thing that has been disappointing as well in the last few months especially is the international community's outcry on human rights. And it's not because we want outside help, because that's exactly what we're against. But what we want is countries like the States, the UK, European countries that pride themselves on democratic values and human right values. You know, President Blinken did a tweet the other day about how human rights values are the pinnacle of humanity and so on and so forth. Why does Pakistan not get involved in that element of humanity and in that tweet? Why is every country get talked about the human rights abuse that goes on? But right now, for the last 2 months, Pakistan's not mentioned in the human rights abuse. And we can give you countless, anyone who wants to sit with me, I'll give them actual academic evidence of the human rights abuse that is going on in Pakistan. But for some reason, there is a strange silence across the world on it. And that's what's disappointing, because regardless of what people say, our country does look up to many other developed countries, or what we call first world countries, for all their values. But when they don't speak up for the people of our country, we get deeply hurt and deeply disappointed. That's where I want to leave it at.
And so I just want to thank you for joining the space, Mr. Buhari. You've been very informative.
I'm not sure if he can hear you. Can you hear Suleiman? Mr. Bukhari, can you hear Suleiman?
Yeah.
You can hear him. Okay, go ahead.
I can, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, so I just want to thank Mr. Buhari for joining our space and enlightening us about what's happening specifically in Pakistan, as well as what's happening in terms of Imran Khan and his party. It is something to be concerned of, irrespective of whether one agrees with Imran Khan, is part of PTI, or is part of the opposition. The main thing is that there should never be a scenario where the judiciary is used to take out a political opponent, because once you lose that, you lose any form of even a veneer of having some form of democracy. So we appreciate your time, and thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Suleiman. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. You guys have been stars. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Bukhari. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. And guys, just follow Mr. Buhari if you want to keep up to date what's happening. He's one of the main members within PTI, and he will keep you informed about what's happening. I do want to go to Michael. Michael, I don't know what your position is on this, so I'd like to hear it in terms of because you are a geopolitical commentator, in terms of this possible US involvement in the ousting of a foreign leader. I know generally you're normally extremely pro-establishment, so I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Pro-establishment is one way to put it. Generally, this is really interesting because I was doing an investigation in a space on this almost a year ago today, and the timeline when you lay it out is actually a really interesting sort of back look at what has come to this. And we go back to sort of 2021 in August, where Biden doesn't call Khan. That's the first sort of crack in the relationship. But again, that was also right before Afghanistan's about to fall, and Ashraf Ghani has asked Biden not to. Then August, Kabul falls, and effectively the entire State Department for Central Asia, and which often includes Pakistan in that purview, is just in panic mode, because obviously that was a lot faster falling than a lot of people assumed it would be, and everything in that region becomes about maintaining stability. And then we come forward to effectively October, where obviously Khan has reached out to the Afghan government. Obviously they're a pro-Taliban government. They're going to have a good relationship with Islamabad. And has been probably a little bit vocal on what he's been saying, but nothing too weird. But at that point, Khan was asked to make his ISI chief, the head of the Pakistani intelligence services, Faiz Hamid, step down. And effectively the head of the Pakistani army, Azim Muhir, had asked for his own ISI chief, a guy named Nadim Anjum, to step into power. At that point, Khan says, no, I'm not going to listen to the military. I want my own ISI chief. I don't like your guy. And that's where the real fissure begins between the Pakistani military and the civilian administration. Then we come forward to effectively October and August, where we see lots of attacks in Balochistan in the south, and investors are having problems. And we're starting to see an inflationary tick up in Pakistan as well. Moving forward to December, we're seeing more pushback from the military. This is the first time we're starting to see the head of the Pakistani military, Azim Muhir, starting to really push back on Khan. That brings us to effectively 2022, when we see the Russian invasion. And yes, as your speaker pointed out, these things are usually planned well in advance. And if Khan, who had planned his trip to Moscow, that invasion happens and he goes, should I go, should I not? He doesn't really have too much of a reason to not go, considering he wants the Russian grain deal. He wants all Russian, any support he can get from any powers at the moment. And Russia's obviously a big, was a big economic player at the time. Now that brings us to effectively March, where Donald Lu meets with members of the Pakistani administration. Now, this was not probably about the ousting of Khan, but more the fact that there have been massive inflationary problems. There have been a lot of separatist problems in the south, particularly in Baluchistan, as well as in the north, in Gilgit, Baltistan as well. So that had been something that really concerned the State Department. Obviously, with Pakistan, there's a real fear in the State Department, because if that country does divide down ethnic lines, there's nuclear weapons at stake. That brings us to effectively April. And from what the investigation is, and when we were talking about this back in last August, when we spoke with guys from State, it seemed to be more that the military had made the decision that they were going to get rid of Khan, because they saw inflation ticking up, they saw problems in the economy, they saw that things were going to go wrong, and they had summer coming up. So they thought maybe that'd be a nice, easier summer, and that frankly they could get rid of him, take over, and the economy might stabilize. And at that point, it didn't. So they pushed it forward. Were the US aware? It's most likely that the US were aware. I don't think the US probably pushed it, but it also the US giving the green light probably gave the military confidence to go through with it. Because the US military run Pakistan and have been very involved in politics. And then we've also seen the ascension effectively afterwards of one of Pakistan's two major families. And quite often Pakistani politics bounces between the Bhutto family and the Sharif family. So Sharif comes into power, and people talk about this grain deal. The grain deal is pretty much approved straight away. That's 300,000 tons coming in from Russia at a discounted rate for Pakistan. This is probably the US is happy to let this happen, because frankly, they're just, again, stability above all when it comes to Pakistan. And again, at this point, we're seeing problems in Egypt, we're seeing problems in Lebanon, we're seeing problems in Kenya, we're seeing problems in Sudan as well, because there's a lack of grain. And out of all those states, you want to make sure Pakistan has grain, because that's the one that really worries you. The Taliban is still, the administration in Kabul is still shaky. The whole southern, particularly in Baluchistan, is shaky. It's not a good situation. I think the US would prioritize stability over everything. Then we get to effectively where we are this year, so February earlier on this year, and we talk about the Pakistanis giving weapons to the Ukrainians. Now, all they've given is 10,000 Grad rockets, which are kind of the rockets you fire from the back of a truck. So not particularly sophisticated weapons. They're pretty old weapons. They're not really anything, actually worthwhile. But what they've done is they've done that during their IMF negotiations. Now, the Pakistanis have already taken a loan of $3 billion to try and stave off default. And the hope probably by the administration was, look, we'll try and show that we're a little bit more pro-West and get better terms from the IMF to avoid default. Because the state is rapidly running out of foreign currency reserves, and that's a big problem for the country at the moment, as we've seen with Sri Lanka last year. So then the cipher comes out. Now, the cipher is given to Intercept, but it supposedly comes from the Pakistani military, which makes me a little bit suspicious on it, because the military right now, before the cipher comes out, is effectively everyone pins this on the military and says, this is likely the military who got rid of Khan, thinking that I get rid of Khan, we take over, the economy recover, and everyone will love us again. And yet the economy has only got worse since the military took over and kicked Khan out of power. Now, by throwing this cipher out, there's a good chance that people will start to go, well, maybe it was the US, maybe it was the military, and we muddy the waters a bit. And that's probably why this has come out. It could be real, it could be not, I don't know. We haven't seen the whole unredacted thing yet, so it's pretty hard to tell at this point. But yeah, looking at the timeline like that, we can kind of see that I don't think it's the US who have necessarily gone and completely orchestrated this, but it seems like US has given the green light, maybe because they don't like Khan, because Khan had been more pro-Islamic movements throughout the Middle East, but it's more than likely that they just really didn't want to have any sort of fracturing or problems underway between the civilian and military administrations. In a time when, frankly, the US Department's pretty stretched, dealing with Russia and dealing with Ukraine and dealing with all of these other states who were going through massive grain shortages at the time. And looking at through the newspapers and stories at the time, it really was in touch and go with Egypt, Sudan, and a few other nations, fall apart. So I'm usually a believer in Occam's razor, and I think that's probably a more simple and straightforward solution. But I don't think it gives anyone a clean skin out of this.
Appreciate the overview, Michael. If anyone wants to hear Prime Minister Imran Khan's comments on our space the previous time he came in relation to the US involvement. It is pinned on the nest. Sami, I'd like to hear your overview for a few minutes. We will be ending soon, but we'll try and get to a few hands. But Sami, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what everyone's discussed.
Thank you very much, Suleiman, for having me. Thank you, Mari, for hosting this space on a very important issue, and one that's been brewing for some time, and the consequences of which were essentially foreseen by everybody. You didn't need to be an expert to see that Imran Khan would be arrested and that this would be his ultimate fate. I think that when it comes to the cipher itself, or the idea of US involvement, I do think that the focus on the cipher, or the focus on the US involvement, takes away from the very essence of the issue that's actually taking place in Pakistan, which is a renegotiation or an attempt to redesign the social contract between the state and between the citizen, or in this particular case, between the army chief and the people around him, and the people of Pakistan. What Imran Khan has come to represent today is the greatest challenge by the people of Pakistan to actually have a stake in how the state is run, as opposed to having the diktats of the army chief dictate how the state is run. And I think that the greatest crime in the eyes of the army chief that Imran Khan committed was to actually try to exercise the powers of a democratically elected prime minister. In fact, the clash that led to Imran Khan's downfall, or the vote of no confidence, had less to do with the US and more to do with Imran Khan essentially trying to deploy the powers of a democratically elected prime minister to decide who should become the next army chief, or who should take up the post of the intelligence, something that's considered very normal in the United States or in the United Kingdom, or indeed in Europe. And this was considered so heinous a crime, so horrible, that Imran Khan would use his democratic mandate to try to assert the will of the people on the state, that they then turned around and orchestrated a vote of no confidence in order to topple him. When it comes to the cipher, I think the cipher is important insofar as Washington makes it clear that they would certainly welcome the toppling of Imran Khan, that there wouldn't be consequences if the army chief moves against Imran Khan, that Washington will not come out in support of Imran Khan. We won't see the sort of language that the US uses, for example, on issues relating to Ukraine, or when it defends Israel or the like. Essentially, I think the cipher is more a heads up from Washington that if you're going to do it, we have no problem with you doing it. What I think the army chief, or indeed the establishment in Pakistan, I think what they severely underestimated was the extent to which Imran Khan presented the greatest challenge to this social contract between them and between the people. And I think the mass protest that took place to the streets caused this sort of earthquake in Pakistani politics, where suddenly you had the ordinary Pakistani citizen actually believing that perhaps for the first time in a very long time in Pakistan, there might actually be a system where the will of the people is manifested as opposed to being dictated to. And I think that what really caused the jitters is that even after Imran Khan was ousted, he was supposed to simply go into the background, go into the darkness, and then somehow there would be elections and then we'd move on from Imran Khan. But instead, his party ends up winning landslide by-elections, not only in small provinces, but also in Punjab, which is often the litmus test as to who will win the next elections. If you win Punjab, it usually follows that you win the general elections. If you win Punjab, it usually follows that you are the most popular party in the country and you're more likely to win those general elections. And this is why I think that what we've seen over the past 6-7 months in Pakistan is a very unusually clumsy policy being adopted by the establishment. And the clumsiness reflects the extent to which they believe that Imran Khan is actually posing this threat. And this is why when we look at the arrest, many people are focusing on the details of the arrest, that he took a watch or he took a gift and he sold it and there was misappropriation or the like. The reality is that if it was a case of corruption, they would not have thrown 170 charges to Imran Khan, ranging from terrorism to money laundering to all these other various different charges, one after the other, because the aim was never that Imran Khan was corrupt. The aim was never to bring down Imran Khan because of the economy. The aim was to ensure that given that people or the Pakistani citizen, or given that Pakistanis suddenly believe that a revolution is on the cards, or given that Pakistanis suddenly believe that the social contract is finally going to be redesigned. What the establishment is trying to ensure is that the Pakistanis have no legitimate means through which to resign that, or to which redesign that social contract. And by that I mean that the establishment is trying to ensure that in the elections, the Pakistani citizen has no option through which to force the redesigning of the social contract. To put it in much more simple terms, the aim of removing Imran Khan was to ensure that when the Pakistani goes to the ballot box, they do not see PTI, they do not see Imran Khan. In other words, you do not choose an option that I cannot control. You do not choose an option of a leader who actually thinks that he can exercise that democratic power. And this is why I think that...
Can I just interject? I'm really sorry. I really appreciate the points that you've made, and you're absolutely right in that, you know, there are a lot of charges on Imran Khan, ranging from terrorism right the way through to the corruption that he's now been given a 3-year sentence for, and he spoke about them at length on our space. I want to come back to you, but let me just jump in very quickly. I want to go to Summer very quickly, and then I'm going to go to Ahmed and Hassan. Go ahead, Summer, please.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to put this in context to people in the West who perhaps don't know the background of Imran Khan. He's from a wealthy family. He was Oxford educated. He's a cricket world champion. He led the country to victory. He started cancer hospitals for the poor. He is staunchly patriotic. He's anti-war. He refused US bases, even though Pakistan was in a weak position to do so, where the US was imposing bases via various means of so-called persuasion around the world. And another thing that I think is interesting and is pertinent for me personally is that Imran Khan went to the UN during the height of the war on terror, where Pakistani lives were sacrificed, where Afghanistan had been attacked. And he said to the UN that we are not what the media and what the world is portraying us to be. This is war propaganda. He said, look, we're proud of our faith. We are proud of the character of the Holy Prophet. Now, if you think about this from an ideological perspective, which is what the war on terror fed the whole of the world, that there is an ideological battle, that these people in these countries, they are evil, they are to be feared, and they are legitimate targets for attack and war. And this is another factor that I think is really important.
Because we're moving to a close. So I just want to give everybody else 30 seconds each who've got their hand up, please. Go ahead, finish your point, Summer, but I just want to let you know we're moving to a close.
That was it.
All right, no problem.
So let me just go to Ahmed. We are closing up, so if everyone can just summarize their points in 30 seconds, and then we'll wrap up. So go ahead, Ahmed. 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you, Suleiman. I just wanted to end the talk here because there's a lot of emotional talk about what Imran Khan is and how he is important for Pakistan, but the reality and the facts are, you know, a bit different. The facts, the evidence that is there is that Imran Khan during his tenure has always been in the American camp. He has halted CPAC. He has given space to India. China has openly blamed Imran Khan for his foreign policy. And the facts are, you know, the problem is that in the past 1.5 year, the only thing that we have listened to is the political narrative. And everybody in Pakistan is literally thriving on the political narrative. And the only thing that is
how much is
no,
the US
I'm talking right now, Summer. You have to wait for your turn.
It's ridiculous.
I'm ending it here. You have to wait for your turn, Summer. You just talked, I listened. Now let me finish, please. Right? So the thing is, the history, the current affairs, and the political analysis, it raises some very serious questions which must be answered by PTI. Abusing people, ridiculing them, humiliating them is not going to answer. You have to answer with facts, with logic, with knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ahmed, really appreciate you coming. Ehsan, I'm so sorry that you didn't get a chance to speak earlier, but we are closing. So if you can just wrap up
in
in 30
seconds. Can I just say one thing about what was just said?
Go ahead, Summer. Let her speak.
Go ahead,
yeah. What I'd like to say is the tenuous links being created between Imran Khan and his party members are so absurd to me. Like earlier on, it was listed that somebody from his cabinet is teaching in America. Somebody from his cabinet has been educated in the West, and so on. Literally, the whole of the Pakistan elite sends their children to Western countries, to university, to get educated, the people who have an understanding of the Western setting in which we all live in relation to power dynamics and geopolitics is important. So I'm sorry, but that is not sufficient in order to try and discredit him for having links with America, first of all. And second, if you contrast that with the opposing parties, the list would go on forever and ever. So that's not a strong basis on which to dismiss the guy. Look at the content of what he's saying. Look at the actions he does when he goes to the UN, when he refuses these military bases, when he's trying to broker peace between Afghanistan and Pakistan in the sense of cooperation because he understands the Afghan psyche, because he's ethnically Pashtun. He's the first guy in so long that is actually trying to fight for the people. And the people who are against him, you are like the people who are against Jeremy Corbyn. You're not going to have this opportunity again. Pakistan needs to seize this moment for a man who's anti-establishment and isn't taking bribes to sell your country down the river.
Well, let me
Okay,
go to Hassan. Sorry, Khaleesi. Hassan, just 30 seconds if you want to make your point, and then we'll go to Jeremy, and then we'll wrap up. Go ahead, Hassan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Salman. I just wanted to say, Zulfi Bukhari said something very important, and I'm just going to finish on that. He said that the military is theirs, it's Khan's military, and that he understands how important it is. I'll finish on that, and I really think they need to work together for Pakistan.
Appreciate that, Hassan. Jeremy, I'd love to hear your concluding remarks for 30 seconds.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to something, a question that was asked earlier about the connection, the sort of parallels that have been drawn historically between Imran Khan and Trump. This is usually the laziest form of American political analysis, is just to associate anyone who's foreign with Trump, just to get people who don't like Trump, against them. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper on how this affects American domestic policy. One thing that is unusual is that a lot of people don't realize is that the American Muslim community has been was historically voted Republican until the invasion of Iraq, and then obviously switched to Democrat pretty reliably. And especially the Pakistani American community is very, very influential and powerful in the Muslim community in the United States. And over the past just the past several years, there has been a movement of Muslim Americans towards the Republican Party, allying with conservatives on social, on culturally conservative issues. And when Muslim Americans who by and large vote Democrat but also support Imran Khan find out that it was the Biden White House who has if not orchestrated, then at least encouraged and given tacit support to the removal of Imran Khan. I can't see how this will help Joe Biden and the Democratic Party with their issues related to the growing split between Muslims and the left. Thank you very much for having me on here. I'm very honored to be here, and thank you all very much. Thank you.
Jeremy, can I respond to that? Jeremy, thank you for coming on. I would really appreciate your analysis and information that you provided on the space. It's been
Thank you.
Extremely important. Well, yeah, go ahead. I don't want to say no to you. I can't say no to you. Will, go ahead. 20 seconds if you can, and then we're going to end.
Okay, yeah, Jeremy, just know that, Muslims in America are now moving towards the red, because not only this whole thing with Imran Khan, but also the family values. We don't like the whole trans agenda in the schools and all that type of stuff, so there's a slew of things that the Democrats have done and have, basically shown their hand that the Muslim Americans are no longer with. So you can be sure that a lot of Muslims are changing their mind. They're going to be going to the ballot with a different mindset this time. So, for all my Muslims out there, just understand that, this upcoming election is going to matter not only on the state side, but also in Pakistan, because, you see what's happening right now. And when Trump and Imran Khan were both in office, they didn't want war. Number one, they didn't want war, and they wanted peace in both lands. Trump is pro-America, and Imran Khan is pro-Pakistan. Now, my question to the Pakistani guys that do not like Imran Khan or they find fault in him. I want to ask you guys a serious question.
Well, we are wrapping up. We are wrapping up because then this.
No, okay. I just wanted to ask them how many people in their country actually feel the way that they feel.
Okay, but anyway, we are wrapping up. So let me just go to Khaleesi. Khaleesi, I'd like to hear your last thoughts before we wrap up. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Look, I think whenever there's a humanitarian issue anywhere or to do with human rights across the world, it's not about religion, it's about humanity. So I think if people genuinely believe there's a human rights issue anywhere, whatever religion or background they are, they should support it. And one of the most profound things that Mr. Zulfi Bukhari said on this space was that the army belongs to Pakistan and it's wrong for anybody to speak out against it because it's the most important institution. And Imran Khan himself has repeated this many times. So I think that's a big takeaway for me on this space. Thanks, Suleiman and Mario. Go ahead.
Appreciate that, Khaleesi. Yeah, I just want to wrap up and say that for me, the main issue that I find in this is irrespective of whether you are PTI, irrespective of whether you are the opposing party, whatever it may be, you need to be in a situation where what you say matters, your vote matters. And it was quite clear in the polling that Imran Khan's party was significantly ahead compared to the other parties. And so when you have that scenario, and then you have a situation where those who are in power, those who are in politics, use the judiciary to take the political opponent out in order to ensure that he doesn't fight for elections is highly problematic. And in that scenario, you never have a democracy. And that's cool if you don't want a democracy, but don't give the veneer or the facade of having a democracy. So I think that's highly problematic. I do have concerns about Pakistan. We do know that the way Pakistan has been run for the last decades has been highly problematic. It's not been run in the best manner, both from a financial, economic perspective. So yeah, we hope that this changes. There was hope that Imran Khan would bring those changes, but let's hope that either he's given an opportunity or somebody else is given an opportunity to make those important changes in the future. I want to thank everybody for joining the space. Much appreciated. And we shall see you most likely same time tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, for whatever topic is on the agenda. Much appreciated.
Free Imran Khan.